The United States tends to be a source of firearms for many of our nearby neighbors and other foreign countries. Based on gun laws that exist, many times these are more restrictive in countries in the Western Hemisphere and across the globe. The organized crime in these countries will then turn to the United States as a source of these firearms, divert those firearms out of legal commerce, use purchasers locally to obtain those firearms, what appears to be a legal transaction on paper, but is actually destined for illegal purposes, and then basically traffic and smuggle those out of the countries to their home nation. Is in the news, we see Mexico all the time as a recipient of our firearms. Canada as well, much stricter laws, but US firearms turn up there more often than not. Other countries that are friendly with us throughout the Caribbean and South America, it's the same problem. ATF has a very limited overseas population, though. We have no enforcement authority overseas, so we have to depend upon other federal agencies as well as our foreign partners to help us root out the recovery of these guns and then trace them back to the United States and build criminal investigations. The evolution is quite noticeable. September 11th really changed things as far as our security posture in the United States. A public perception was that all air flights were now being checked. And what we saw evolve from that time to the current is getting away from air smuggling and going to seaborne smuggling. It made our job more difficult. As you can imagine, a large freighter carrying 40-foot containers, which they themselves are then filled with crates and other subcontainers, it's easy to hide firearms. So what we found, that's probably the most major trend that we noticed. Our partners to the north and south, Canada and Mexico, guns continue to cross the land border, unfortunately quite easily. There are vast expanses that we just can't cover with personnel, and that's our partners at CBP and ICE. However, seaborne cargo is probably the most noticeable trend. Again, if you think about handguns, very small, and if you're not trying to smuggle hundreds at a time, you take them by the dozen, 10 or 20, easily concealable. You put those inside another container, a pouch, a bag, a duffel bag, a box, and then put that consolidated with other freight in a large crate, and then crates get put into a 40-foot container. I don't want to say needle in a haystack, but it is very difficult to detect those firearms. Also, we see many times used cars or other cars being filled with all sorts of merchandise to include firearms to then sneak out of the country. Those are probably the most notable trends we see at this time. Probably our most specific example is our tracing system for firearms. It's now referred to as E-Trace, which is electronic tracing. It is a web-based system so that our foreign partners, even with access from their own country, don't need ATF by their side in order to trace recovered firearms. They can enter the information into our system if they are US source firearms. We can't do this worldwide, but if it is a firearm manufactured or legally imported into the United States, we have a record. The foreign country can then online submit that tracing form. We can then conduct the trace and provide them with the results, which may aid them in their own investigation or enforcement activity, and it may as well give us leads to initiate our own enforcement activity on this side for how the guns were first obtained. The internet gives us eyes on to advertisement to people that are being maybe not so covert about what they're doing, but at the same time, the internet is a two-edged sword. People can use that to advertise firearms being trafficked, and then even though they tend to cite it could be against the law, you must follow the laws of your own country, follow all rules and regulations. If the firearms are still shipped, the internet has made that a wide open market where advertising didn't used to touch so many people instantaneously. We can use the internet to our advantage to track these things, but at the same time, organized crime can use the internet to advantage to advertise and obtain. But probably our tracing system, now that it is a complete electronic system, what we can offer our foreign law enforcement partners in combating transnational organized crime, that's probably our best success story in recent years.